All right, let's jump right in. Dear Dr. Dandridge, I recently retired. Go you. And instead of joy, I feel a profound sense of emptiness. I miss the purpose, camaraderie, and the identity my job gave me. Even the small daily interactions, the jokes with coworkers, the coffee breaks are gone, and I feel untethered. How do I grieve the ending of a chapter that defines so much of who I am while learning to embrace this new season of life? Wow. Thank you so much for writing in, and thank you for your vulnerability because, like I alluded earlier, a lot of people get excited about when people retire. A lot of people are like, yeah, you've put in your time and you've put in the work, and now you get to sit back and relax and do things that you enjoy. But as you've expressed, there is grief even associated with some of the celebrations inside of our lives. It's interesting that you said that instead of joy, you feel a profound sense of emptiness. I think a lot of retirees experience this, especially the first few months. I can honestly say months, not just weeks, but the first few months of retirement. I know quite a few people who have retired and they really do feel a sense of void because much of their identity, like you said, has been engulfed inside of their work. I mean, you are able to retire because you spend thousands of hours and thousands of days at an employer. That's your life. That is a huge part of your identity. So what you are feeling as this emptiness is 100% real and it is 100% valid. You even mentioned that you miss purpose, camaraderie, and identity that your job gave you. A lot of people don't realize that the second that you lose, especially a job that you were a part of for a while, that the second that you stop working, you do lose or have a sense of loss regarding these things. You have a sense of loss as it relates to your purpose because now it's like, well, I was clocking in somewhere and I had responsibilities and I had things to do and I had people to report to or people to report to me. I had a sense of purpose and I woke up with, something expected of me. But now I'm waking up and I don't know what's expected of me. I don't know what my sense of purpose is or why I'm here or what I'm doing. That's real. You even said the camaraderie. I remember watching somebody on YouTube recently who broke down the fact that the older we get, we spend less time with our family, we spend less time with our children, we spend less time with our spouse, and science actually shows us that we begin to spend more time and build more relationships with our coworkers. So I can understand that camaraderie that you are missing because you probably had very, very close friends and associates and maybe even a work wife or a work husband that you just clicked with every single day. And I mean, when you think about it, you spend 5 days a week, 8 hours a day with these people. You probably have not even spent that much time with your children since they were 4 or 5 years old. So it is 100% normal for you to miss that level of camaraderie. I would encourage you to be intentional about the relationships that you build now that you are in retirement. If you are able to visit your old job and still keep in contact and still have intentional relationships with your coworkers who might still be there, or if they've retired, now maybe you can spend different types of intentional time together outside of just the workspace. How do I grieve the ending of a chapter that defined so much? I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the ending of a chapter. I want you to give yourself some grace and know that the season that you were in as a full time employee somewhere was a chapter. And now, this new chapter that you're entering in, it is going to take some time to transition. People are going to be super excited because they can't wait to retire, but they will probably be writing into me years from now saying the exact same thing. But now you're ready to go inside of a chapter of your life that is going to not redefine you, but is going to further define you. Because, and I think I've said this uh, inside of a previous conversation, for someone who lost a job unintentionally. I mean, you have been able to leave a job intentionally, like on purpose. But I've said this inside of a conversation for someone who lost a job and it was not on purpose. That yes, we can be defined by our jobs. We can be defined by what we do, but we are not confined to what we do. And we can ultimately become a different person outside of what we've done. So I would encourage you to rediscover you, to really rediscover who you are and the things that you like, the things that you enjoy, the things that bring you great joy. If your other coworkers are also retired, maybe connect with them and find some things and some shared interests that you might have wanted to explore or even talk about inside of the work environment, but you could not. But now that you're retired and no longer inside the environment, there is no HR. You can go out and begin to explore and be intentional about growing and developing some of those relationships. The second part of your question I want to get to real quick. You said, how do I grieve the ending of a chapter that defines so much of who I am while still learning? Here it is, to embrace this new season of life. The key to embracing a new season of life is by accepting that the season is here. Your season of retirement is here. And you never know. You might be like one of those retired people who you retire from one job only to start another job, another career, another endeavor that is completely different from which you left. And now this newer season is as fulfilling as the old season. I've been able to go through seasons of not retirement, but moving from one element of comfortability with my career inside of a different level of comfortability inside of my career. So I can say that I retired from sales many, many years ago, and now I've entered inside of this new season of grief support and chaplaincy. And it can give you a different sense of purpose. It can give you a different sense of value. It can give you a different sense of just worth. So I don't want you to think that just because you're retired, that you're worthless, that you don't have any purpose, that you have no value. I want you to try to redefine who you are. And as you're working through the grief associated with retirement, because it is real, talk to people who have retired and ask them, how did you get through this season where everybody else is so happy because you accomplished something? Many people can't even retire nowadays, and everybody just thinks that, oh, this is the best thing ever, but you're grieving what you have literally invested thousands of days into. I believe that at some point you'll be able to redefine your purpose, not contingent on what you are doing as far as a career and your employment. And now you can redefine your purpose, your identity, your being into who you are now being inside of this season. You never know. Something might spawn off and you might start a business or, like I said, another career or another endeavor that'll just give you a whole nother level of life and a whole nother level of, expectancy. It is hard. It is hard. I can only imagine the grief that you are experiencing. But you would be surprised at how many people I know who have retired. And like I said, the first couple of months is just like, I'm not as happy as people thought or said I was going to be. Like, how do I work through this? So I hope that there was something that was said here inside of this conversation that would at least steer you off inside the right direction and give you a little bit of hope inside of this new season of retirement for you. Okay. Thank you for joining me at my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge. This has been Designing Your Goodbyes, and I will see you all inside the next conversation. Okay.